Hi guys. So I get a lot of questions all the time that people ask. One thing I get a lot is when I'm training and I'm sparring or I'm rolling or whatever art you do or whatever. What is mat etiquette basically? And mat etiquette is basically, and I'll put it like this, basically don't be a dick. you know and what I mean by that is a lot of times you're sparring with somebody, and a lot of times it happens, especially when people feel like they can beat you. They will tend to, a lot of times they will tend to do things like punch or kick you as hard as they can, just to show you that that they can beat you, or they'll armbar you with no mercy, or Americana and just wrench your shoulder out, or do a wrist lock that's just or a single finger move and bend your finger back, or whatever the case may be. When you're training, remember guys, number one thing I always tell my students is the person you're training with, the person you're rolling with, the person you're sparring with, whatever the case may be, unless we have both decided that we're going to do a death roll, which basically means everything goes, anything goes, do it as hard as you can, whatever the case may be. Unless we have that understanding, which very few people do, we need to learn how to train together. Remember, I'm trusting you with my body, and you're trusting me with yours. There's many times I'll get a choke on somebody, or I'll catch an arm bar, or whatever the case may be, and I don't even pull it. I'll let it go. I know it's there, or I'll do it very slowly and carefully tap someone out. People need to trust you when you're training together. This is a really big part of training. If I don't trust you, I don't want to train with you. And what happens is, I had someone a while back ask me, when we switch partners, nobody ever comes to me. That can be one of two things. Either you're big and scary and nobody trusts you yet because you're new, or you can just be so radical that you continually hurt people and nobody wants to train with you anymore. So be very careful when you're training, so that you're not causing especially causing injury on purpose. Jiu-jitsu is one of those things that you're going to be sore. There's no magic to it. You're going to be sore. You're going to have some aching bones, and you're going to sometimes pull things that you wish you wouldn't have pulled. But when someone grabs you by the arm and literally tries to break your arm before you can tap, or wrenches your neck sideways and cranks you out so hard that you're feeling it next year, something's wrong with this training. So also, remember this as well. You want to be really careful to not ask someone or to train with people and you're going extremely hard, but you're expecting them to take mercy on you. Remember, I always tell my sparring partners, I'm going to kick you as hard as you kick me. So keep in mind that when you're training together, that there has to be a mutual respect between training partners, so we can continue to train long term. There's nothing worse than people coming to the academy acting like they're going into the UFC to win $1 million, and all of a sudden they've hurt everybody in the academy, and the only people that can work with them are the high-end belts, and nobody says anything about it. So also, if you're an instructor and you're running an academy, take note of this, and don't be afraid to talk to people and say, man, you have to calm down. I had a talk a few weeks ago with someone, and I told them, you have to calm down. You're basically, you're hurting people, and we can't have that. There are a lot of, every academy is different. Some academies are extremely rough, and they don't care, and they don't monitor the injuries. They don't care who's getting hurt, and they don't care who's hurting people. I, however, don't operate that way, and I don't think people should operate that way. So take note of yourself, but also take take note of the student that you're working with or whoever you're working with, and open your mouth and talk to them and say, hey, can we train a little easier today? You can train easy. And when I say train easy, I'm not talking about not training hard. You need to be pouring sweat and you need to be working. But at the same time, there has to be a mutual respect that says, if you catch me in an arm bar, you don't necessarily have to break my arm. On the flip side of that, if you get caught in an arm bar, you might want to tap out. This is another thing that we deal with a lot, is I have to end up pulling my arm bar harder so that you will tap out, and it ends up looking like I'm trying to hurt you, when the realization of it is you just don't want to tap out because you have too much ego. So when you take your shoes off at the door, leave your ego with your shoes, come on the mat, get some respect, and learn how to train with your training partners. Again, open your mouth. If you're new to jiu-jitsu or fairly new, and you're training with somebody that is really rough, don't be afraid, again, to open your mouth and say, listen, take it easy on me and just work with me. This is a way you can continue to train long term, and you can go to work tomorrow and you can provide for your family without a broken neck or a broken arm or a shoulder or anything like that. So get some respect on the mat, guys. Oops.